So I just saw this movie. It's called Batman Ninja. I have opinions on this movie, let's talk about it. Note that I'm not by any means a Batman fanatic. I'm barely even a fan at all. The only reason I know what Batman is because no one wants me to not know who he is. Ever since Batman Begins, it seems like DC's been milking him for the last decade and a half. He's been in movies, video games, comics, cartoons, more movies, more video games, more comics, more cartoons, and now he's in anime. I will admit that when I saw the first trailer for Batman Ninja months ago, I was honestly intrigued from how it looked. It looked different, it looked new, it looked like nothing we'd ever seen with Batman. It's Batman, but in ancient Japan. It's a match made in heaven. It's like if Michael Bay was going to direct a Duke Nukem movie starring John Cena, which apparently is in talks of happening. How could you mess this up, Bay? Overall, I thought the movie was a lot of fun. If you're someone who doesn't know a lot about Batman and just wants a Saturday night movie to watch with some pals, then you're going to enjoy this movie. I'll start with the positive. This movie looks magnificent. It's a mix of the cel-shaded CG with excellent anime-style backdrops. There's a moment in this movie where the art style changes completely and it is just utterly beautiful to look at. But I'll get into that scene later. Every single character model is great, some could do with a little more detail in my opinion, but 99% of the time they all animate really well. Something to note is that if you're going to watch this movie, I'd recommend the sub version rather than the English dub. I watched the English dub and there's nothing wrong with that at all, it's just this movie was animated with the Japanese language in mind, so it'll be a lot less awkward seeing characters speak in a way that doesn't suit 100% with how they animate.
Oh, Batman, the old magnetized bumper trick, always so clever with your technology. Harley, activate Arkham Castle!
The action is really good too, though I do have a few gripes with it at times, but I doubt many people would care about overblown action in a superhero movie. That's roughly what I liked most about this movie. It's a perfectly serviceable film to watch and enjoy, and I did enjoy it. I liked some of the characters, mainly the Joker and Harley. The Joker because he just owns the entire movie. The way he speaks, the way he animates, the way he reacts. Every time you see him, you're just having a great time. I also have a soft spot for these terrible jokes.
Is it me, or is it getting hot in here? Oh, don't run away. I'm your biggest fan!
Harley is the other character I like the most because she just, I don't know, she looks good, okay? I don't know what it is about her. Her expressions are just awesome, and it makes me happy seeing her enjoy herself. She loves to fight and cause mischief with her puppy. And that's pretty much it with the characters I like the most. Unfortunately, there was also a lot of things that stopped me from loving this movie. In fact, I just barely find this movie enjoyable. So from the first trailer, it looked like they were taking the concept of Batman and completely redoing him in an ancient Japanese steampunk type setting. I'll say this again, it's a match made in heaven. But unfortunately, it's not a new take on Batman. It's the same Batman. The movie starts with him getting sent back in time, which, really? Here's your chance to create something entirely new with Batman, but nope. You go with the same style of Batman that's existed for almost 20 years now. Mind that this is coming from someone who doesn't even know that much about Batman. I've seen the Dark Knight trilogy, I've played Arkham City, I've watched Injustice 2 story mode, I've seen Batman v Superman, and I've seen some of the cartoons. I get the point of Batman. He's a vigilante who goes against the law to fight crime in Gotham City. He doesn't kill. Just in case you say I'm not educated on Batman enough to judge this movie, I shouldn't need to be. I should be able to enjoy this movie enough without knowing anything about Batman. For the most part you can, but there's a lot of characters and instances that kind of expect you to already know who they are. For example, I thought Robin and Nightwing were the same person. I didn't know there was Robin, Nightwing, Red Robin, and Red Hood. They never explain who these characters are either. It's established that they're Batman's allies, but that's it. There's even some new never-seen-before characters, as far as I know, who only serve as plot devices. Their entire personality is summed up as Ninja Clan. Only one character speaks in the Ninja Clan, and they speak in the most generic lines you'd imagine a Ninja Clan would.
We are the Bat Clan of Hida. Our lives are guided by an ancient prophecy. Hey, you underestimate your opponent, Joker! We cannot be shaken by your evil thoughts. We have mastery over our bodies and our minds!
The worst out of all the characters has to be the other villains though. Two-Face, the Penguin, Deadshot, Poison Ivy, and Bane all really don't need to be here. It's cool to see them in the Japanese aesthetic, but they cause very little impact to the overall story when you think about it. They could have had a workaround if they cut them out. Hell, Bane is quite literally in the movie for like 10 seconds before being completely dropped. Speaking of which, let's go into the story now. It starts with Batman trying to stop a machine called the Quake Engine, made by the Gorilla. The machine goes AWOL and sends everyone back in time. Batman's time travel time was delayed 2 years before everyone else. By that time, all the villains have taken over separate parts of Japan. Batman, unable to rely on his gadgets, Batman, unable to rely on his
gadgets.
That's good enough. Instead needs to rely on his allies, mind and body, and embracing the ancient ninja style. The premise is alright, but very uninspired. Again, I was hoping for the movie to maybe reinvent itself with this one. I was hoping it would give us a Batman we hadn't seen before. One that never existed in modern day, but rather one that existed in ancient Japan. There's a ton of Japanese and ninja history you can use to combine Batman with, making the possibilities potentially endless. Instead, we get a perfectly serviceable Batman storyline. This is one of my biggest problems with this movie. It's nothing we haven't seen before, which is very disappointing. I'm honestly very surprised a lot of people are saying this is a refreshing take of Batman. I agree the style is refreshing and awesome to look at, but that's it. The story is the most bare bones you can get in a superhero movie, never mind a Batman movie. If you like that, that's perfectly fine. For some people, looks like most people, that's enough. We can never have enough Batman, can we? I've noticed Batman had been doing this animated movie thing for a couple of years now. I've seen some of them. I've seen both the Caped Crusaders movie and Batman and Harley Quinn. For these movies, it made sense it'd be familiar because they're all based on a Batman that already exists. The 60s Adam West era Batman for the Caped Crusaders and the 90s style for Batman and Harley Quinn. Even The Killing Joke, an animated Batman movie that I've not watched but know is based on another Batman that's familiar. Batman Ninja was different though. Batman Ninja had every chance it could to give something truly fresh to Batman, but it decides not to. It starts with Batman in modern day fighting all the villains we've come accustomed to, and ends pretty much the exact same way. And this is coming from someone who doesn't obsess over Batman at all. It doesn't help matters when you realise that this is just another Batman and Joker movie. Come on, really? Is this all there is? Batman fighting the Joker while all the other villains get their participation trophy? DC has so much to work with, yet they stick with Batman because that's what's given them success. Every time they try to delve into other characters, they more often than not fall flat on their faces.
I will find him!
Rarely does it ever work out, and even when it does, it pales into comparison to other movies that have mastered its craft. If this keeps up, then I don't see how people can be interested in Batman any longer. Even me, who isn't all that much of a Batman fan, knows that this character is being milked to death here. Of course, I'm in the minority here by this point, but I can almost see the future crystal clear, where people are fed up with Batman, forcing DC to evolve and try something else. This is one of the two biggest problems I have with this movie. I'll get into the second reason in a moment. I kinda want to talk about the Ninja Clan for a second right now. The Ninja Clan is pointless. It's there for the sake of being there. Instead of trying to create new, well thought out, impelling characters, we just get people wearing black, as if that means something. Of course, they're the ones that tell us that Batman is part of a prophecy where he'll fix up Japan. Really? We're doing prophecies now? Batman doesn't even question it, he just goes with it. The prophecy is so dull and uninteresting that I think the Anakin bringing balance to the Force prophecy is more compelling than this one. At least it explains what the Force is and how it works. In Batman Ninja, nothing is explained. Batman is what the prophecy foretold because he is what the prophecy foretold. He gains bat powers. Powers that are not explained. Powers that are given to him because the prophecy says so. So in the movie, everyone kind of fumbles around the place until they get to the final battle. Grodd has his castle turned into a giant tank. Alright, fair enough, honestly. In the movie, it's been over 2 years since Grodd was brought to Japan, and he is apparently a very clever monkey, so sure, I'll buy it. But I'm not so sure if I want to even spoil the final battle. I don't think I will. All I will say is that it becomes so absurd that I kinda just have fun watching the rest of the movie. There's not really any more taking the movie seriously after it gets to a certain point in the final battle. I'll admit, as weird and crazy as it gets, I don't really have any problems with the movie ending this way. Sure, I would have overall preferred something different, but at least with what it does, it goes all the way. It helps that we get one of the best Batman vs Joker fight scenes I've ever seen, so surprisingly enough, no complaints about the ending of the movie for me. Also, this is one of the funniest out of context lines ever.
You can use this. It controls my army of monkeys.
I guess all that's left to talk about is that scene. Probably the best scene in the movie. Earlier on in the movie, the Joker and Harley are presumed dead. Again. They show up later in the movie as farmers with no recollection of anything that happened before. The way this scene is presented is so beautiful, so raw, so personal, and so intimate. For me to describe it would be doing it disservice. The colours are so vibrant, the animation is done in a way that's like watching a painting come to life. It actually caused me to sob a little from the emotion alone. Honestly, this one scene on its own is worth watching the entire movie for. The art style is it's so simple but complex at the same time. But it's also so imperfect, but it works, somehow. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful looking and emotional scene. It makes it so upsetting for me that since this movie is so predictable, you know exactly where this is going. The scene loses a ton of its impact when you realise that it ultimately means next to nothing in the story. It's pointless. The scene could be cut entirely and the story would be exactly the same without it. Turns out the Joker was completely lying. He just pretended to be killed, before just showing up again, and then just showing up again anyway. This has been done how many times before? So much. This might not matter to some, but this is exactly the main problem I have with this movie. It's nothing new. It's everything we've seen before. How long is it going to be before people are sick and tired of Batman? I already know I'm getting quite exhausted with it. I think DC really needs to change things up. Not just for me, but for the sake of the Batman franchise as a whole. If you disagree, that's perfectly fine. I mean, there's plenty more Batman fanatics out there that know a lot more about him than me. Like I said, I enjoy this movie, and there's enough there to make me glad I watched it. I was just wanting something more. Instead, it gives us slightly above the bare minimum. It's a perfect 5 or 6 out of 10 movie for me. And that just isn't good enough. It's a beautiful canvas, but it's an average movie at best.